GMT. These three letters represent one of the most popular complications in the world of horology. And I'm sure most of you guys watching this channel know that they stand for Greenwich Mean Time. But here's what I started wondering. What's so special about a suburb of London that the entire world decided to set their clocks by it? And what's up with that word mean? Why do we need a mean, an average, to tell time? What's wrong with just Greenwich time? So guys, recently I made a visit to Greenwich to find out. And what I discovered was one of the greatest untold stories in the world of watchmaking. Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Horology Underground. I'm Max, and today we're going to investigate the history behind one of the world's most consequential innovations, the GMT complication. But before we start, if you guys like watch-related content, specifically around history of watchmaking, the world of horology, please consider subscribing to our channel and liking this video. It really does help us make more content just like this. So the story starts in 1675. King Charles II of Great Britain has a problem. British ships keep getting lost at sea, and getting lost at sea in the 17th century means sailors die. The reason? They can't determine longitude. They know how far north or south they are, but east-west position, completely beyond them. So King Charles does what kings do. He throws money at it. He commissions this observatory on a hill above the Thames River, appoints a brilliant young astronomer named John Flamsteed as the first astronomer royal, and gives him one mission: solve the longitude problem. What nobody anticipated, not even Flamsteed, was that the solution wouldn't come from the stars. It would come from a clockmaker, a stubborn, brilliant, infuriating clockmaker from Yorkshire who had spent 40 years of his life on a problem the establishment told him he couldn't solve. John Harrison understood something elegant. To know your longitude at sea, you need two clocks in your head simultaneously: the time back home and the local time where you are right now. The gap between those two times tells you exactly how far east or west you've traveled. The problem? No clock on Earth could survive months at sea. The salt air, the temperature swings, the constant rolling of a ship. They destroyed every mechanism ever built. Harrison's answer was what you're looking at right now. This clock, built in 1757 and dedicated to King George II, is one of his great marine timekeepers. And here's what gets me every time I think about it. This clock has never stopped. It's still running. 260-something years later, still ticking, right here in this room. Harrison eventually cracked the problem completely with his H4, a chronometer so accurate it lost only 5 seconds over a voyage to Jamaica. It changed navigation forever. He died knowing he won, but it took him 40 years to prove it. Now here's the thing most people walk past without realizing. Greenwich Mean Time. It's a phrase that changed everything. It isn't bureaucratic filler. It's doing something precise and important. The Earth's rotation isn't perfectly consistent. Solar noon, the moment the sun crosses the meridian, arrives at a slightly different time every single day. You can't build a global system on something that's so variable. Flamsteed's solution was to calculate the average. That's where mean comes in, and build a time standard around that instead of the sun's actual position. Greenwich Mean Time was born in a mathematician's notebook in the 1670s. At first, only astronomers cared. Then came the railways. Before the 1840s, every British town ran on its own local solar time. Bristol ran 10 minutes behind London. That was fine when nobody moved faster than a horse. When trains arrived, running on published timetables connecting cities, it became chaos. The Great Western Railway adopted Greenwich Mean Time in 1840. Others followed. People even called it railway time. By 1880, it was the law. A local astronomer's calculation had conquered Britain, but the world was still fragmented. Dozens of countries, dozens of reference points, no agreement. That changed in October 1884. 25 nations gathered in Washington, D.C. for the International Meridian Conference. One agenda item: pick a single prime meridian for the entire planet. France, understandably, argued for Paris. Others pushed for neutral ground, but Greenwich won because British naval power meant the majority of the world's shipping charts already used it. 22 nations voted yes, 1 voted no. France abstained. With that vote, this line, right here in Greenwich, became the center of the world's time. Every time zone on Earth defined by its distance from this hill in South London. But Greenwich didn't just define time, it transmitted it. This here is the Shepherd galvanomagnetic clock, installed in 1852. The first clock to ever show Greenwich Mean Time to the public. But it's what's behind the dial that's extraordinary. This clock has no mechanism of its own. It's a slave driven by electrical pulses from a master clock inside the observatory, which was simultaneously firing time signals down telegraph wires to railway stations across the entire country. One heartbeat in Greenwich felt everywhere. The Victorians built the Internet of Time 150 years before the Internet existed. And notice the dial, 24 hours, not 12. Greenwich was already thinking globally. Every GMT complication ever made, from a Rolex GMT2 Master to a Nomos World Timer to whatever's on your wrist right now, exists because of the problem this building was created to solve. When you rotate that bezel, you're not just tracking a second time zone. You're touching a 350-year obsession, a king's desperation, a clockmaker's 40-year battle, a mathematical average, a railway revolution, and a vote in Washington. Now, some of you are already typing in the comments because you know that the world has largely moved on from GMT to UTC, Coordinated Universal Time, as the true modern standard. So, is that GMT hand on your dial technically antiquated? It's a genuinely fascinating question and one that deserves its own dedicated comment. That's coming soon on Horology Underground, so please stay tuned. So guys, let's take a step back for a moment and consider what actually happened here in Greenwich. A king who refused to accept his sailors kept dying. An astronomer who turned the chaos of the sun into something measurable. A clockmaker who dedicated 40 years of his life to solving something that the establishment said was unsolvable. And a group of railway engineers who decided the world needed to agree on what time actually was. None of them set out to create the foundations of modern horology. They were trying to solve the problems in front of them. But in doing so, in this special building on top of a hill overlooking the Thames River, they gave every one of us who loves a complicated watch a reason to love it a little bit more deeply. These weren't just pioneers of astronomy or navigation. These were the architects of time itself. And until next time, stay precise, my friends.